In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to take a coaching business from 10K a month to 50K a month. And if you guys don't know me already, my name's Tom Hyder. I run a company called Systemized Scaling, a sales consultancy and recruitment company where we essentially help coaches, consultants, and agencies scale past 50K a month by placing closers and setters into the business, replacing the founder and giving them freedom. Now let's get straight into it. A lot of the companies at 10K a month don't really need to worry about the lead flow side of things. So a lot of clients we work with have at least 10 sales calls booked into their calendars every single week. So if you don't have 10 sales calls booked into your calendar, first thing you need to focus on is the lead flow. And we can get into that in a different video. But what I would focus on first is the close rate. There is no point placing closers and setters and building a sales team if the close rate for the founder is not at least 25%. So phase one, we want to get the close rate to at least that 25% mark, ideally to 30 to 50%. First thing we're going to focus on is sales calls audits. And what we're going to do is focus on 4 sales calls, 2 of them closed and 2 of them lost. Okay, reason being is we want to make sure that we see what is going wrong in the lost calls and what is going right in the closed calls. Also, what can be improved in these closed calls as well. Okay, and this is going to allow us to find out the key bottlenecks. Focus on one thing at a time and then iterate and then move on to the next thing. So what we're going to do is work with the founder, or if you're the founder yourself, you can work with yourself to do training on that one bottleneck that's really stopping your sales calls from getting to that next level. Okay. After sales calls audits, what we want to do is implement the authenticity-based sales framework. And what this is, it's a sales framework I curated from my few years as a closer and my few years in door-to-door sales that allows you to feel comfortable when you're selling, not cringy, not just forcing it, like saying, oh, how does that make you feel personally? You know, that cringy, forced sales tactics that are being taught these days that make prospects feel uncomfortable and make you feel uncomfortable. Okay, so what this is going to do is increase the close rate to 30 to 50%, all right, by making founders feel like they're comfortable, feel like they're just being authentic and genuine. Because as you could probably tell, if someone's not being genuine, if someone's not being authentic, you can just smell it, all right? So after we implement this framework and we teach the founder or the salesperson this, what we want to do is make sure the offer economics are on point. And what do I mean by this? Maybe they're charging too little. Maybe there's a price increase that could go on and add more cash to the business. Or maybe the payment plans aren't optimized. Maybe we can implement some funding tactics for leads to get more options to actually buy your product, service, program, course. Or maybe the messaging or marketing's not dialed in. Or maybe there's not a guarantee that's really filling prospects with trust. So the offer economics is essentially making sure we dial in all of these sections. Okay. After the close rate is dialed in, after we're at the 30 to 50% closing rate, now we know that if we hire a closer, yes, they can be replicated, okay? They will close at the 30 to 50% mark because it's been done before. Phase 2 is lead quality and show rate optimization. If you want to build a 50K a month business, you've got to have decent lead quality. You've got to have decent show up. And by decent show up rate, I mean 7 out of 10 calls should show up, okay? You want to have a 70% close show rate at least. Any less than that, you've got an issue, all right? How are we going to do this? Okay, first one we're going to do is implement a pre-call qualification. This is essentially making sure every single lead that shows up to the call has had the best opportunity to be qualified, right? They have a decent amount of money, they've been qualified, they've got a decent job, or they've got a decent living to be able to actually afford what you offer. Not people just jumping on the call who can't afford it, who aren't the best quality and just going to waste your time. How are we going to do this? We're going to implement pre-qual qualification, not in the appointment setting section, but in the Calendly booking section to qualify these leads. And it essentially filters the bad leads, spends more time with qualified prospects. Okay, that's what you want essentially. Next part in the lead quality side of things is the appointment setting conversation audits. What I would do is I'd audit 10 appointment setting conversations and see what the key bottlenecks. Exact same with these sales calls. We want to figure out what these appointment setters are getting wrong, whether it be triages on the phone or whether it be appointment setters on the DMs. Okay, want to make sure that we see if they're actually making prospects feel comfortable, they're making prospects trust you and like you, and they're qualifying them themselves. And if they need another script, what we would do is provide an appointment setting script to pretty much make sure they're actually going through the right process and not just burning leads and making sure they're not qualified. Last thing I do with qualification, making sure leads are qualified, is plan and script objection handling content to integrate into the appointment setting process. What do I mean by this? All the objections you're getting on sales calls, we would plan out content to handle each one of these objections. What this does, it reduces objections on sales calls. I've just gone through the R, excuse me. And it makes sure that it's easier sales calls with increased quality. Throughout the appointment setting framework, you've sent over the videos if a prospect has raised an objection. So let's say a prospect says, oh, but I don't trust these courses or programs. Then you can send over a video that handles that specific objection so that when they jump on the call, they're loving life, they're handled, right? They've just got a few queries, a few objections that you need to handle. The last one is the show rate, okay? We want to make sure that people are showing up to the call because if they're not, you're toast and you're wasting money. So show rate has to be above 70%. The way we're going to do this is through a few things: the pre-call qualification, pre-call email flows and SMS flows, and the appointment setting qualification and confirmation as well. All seems quite jumbled up and muddled up, but it makes a lot more sense when we're doing it in the moment. So we're implementing check-ins with the closers, with the appointment setters, and automated to make sure that people show up to the call. So phase 2, your lead quality is dialed in and your show up rate is optimized. Phase 3 is follow-up and revenue maximization. Ooh, what does this mean? So follow-up as a closer, as you probably know, I've gone through it in my previous videos, was about 30 to 40% of all of my deals as a closer for coaching businesses. Meaning that if I didn't have a dialed in follow-up process, I would have missed out on probably about 40, 50K a month for the coaching companies that I close for, which is just crazy, right? So every single time I work with a client, I make sure they have a dialed in follow process, right? Follow process implemented that is regimented, all right? It's like dinner, right? You know exactly when you're having it, you know what you're having. Exact same with the follow process. We want to make sure that we have 3 pipeline blocks every single week and people and the founders know or the closers know exactly what to do, right? Exactly where to go, which leads to go to first, and how to follow up. So we're making sure that we dial this follow-up process in so that when the closer comes on board, they know what to do as well. All right. Also, we want to implement a referral process. You want to make sure every single client you get on board, you're asking for referrals. So you don't even need to pay for these sales. You don't even need to pay for these clients. You're just getting people who trust you already because they trust the client. They're jumping on sales calls and they're pretty much just giving you their credit card, right? So we want to make sure we implement a regimented script and process of when to ask leads and clients for referrals, right? Idea is we increase these sales by 30%. And as you can see, all of this, what we're doing is we're just building the infrastructure. We're building the infrastructure needed to scale a business past 50K a month. So when you have a team of maybe 3 closers, 4 closers, you have a real sales team, you know, you've got all the infrastructure on board. They have something to follow. It's not just jumbled up. Next one. We're placing a closer. We've got the infrastructure on board. We've got everything dialed in with the sales process. What we want to do is replace the founder. We want the founders to focus on content, the things they got into business for, actually focus on other needle moving tasks. No point founder just being on sales calls all day because you can replace that. So what we want to do here is replace the founder with a closer. Or if the founder is still doing the appointment setting, replace the founder with a setter as well. Okay. So what we would do is recruit, screen, qualify these closers and setters, interview them, and then place and onboard them. Essentially onboard them into the company, give them the training, and ramp them up to KPI. It's probably one of the hardest things to do that a lot of people fail to do is get qualified closers and setters and ramp them up to KPI in a matter of weeks, right? This gives the founder freedom, which is what everyone wants really, more money and freedom, right? After the closer placement, we're off to the races, right? We've got the sales process dialed in. We've got sales relatively automated, closing and setting. We can add closers if needed. We can add setters if needed. But we want to build the infrastructure on the back end, right? And what do I mean by this? We want to build the CRM so that closers can go in, they know where leads are, and they know how to track them and where the notes are, okay? So what we would do is we'd either update the CRM if it's pretty poor, or we just build them a brand new CRM, okay? Make sure it's clean, it tracks leads, and it's just good for a team, right? Next one we want to do for the infrastructure is build out automations. You know, we want to get all of your payments going to Slack or the channel you use for communications automatically. So you could do a Woo or you could do a Cheer with all your sales team, whatever. We want to make sure that we have all sales calls or cancel sales calls, all no-shows, all updates from every single closing call automated through to Slack, so it gives you a notification. So you don't have to keep on checking, you don't have to keep on manually updating. And the end of day reports. You want to make sure that you're automating end of day reports so closers can fill out and you can track the data. Now, last thing with the sales infrastructure build is data tracking. I know I'm going a bit fast here. If you have any specific questions or there's anything you didn't really get, message me at TomHyder_ on Instagram and I'll help you out. But the data tracking is probably one of the most important things you could implement into your business to get to 50K a month and beyond. Let's say a race car driver, right? They've got something wrong with their car, but they don't have software to test what is wrong with their car. You know, F1 drivers, they just think, okay, let's just guess, right? Do you think they're going to be able to actually compete with other race car drivers? Do you think they're going to be able to compete at the highest level? Probably not. So we need a system that tracks data and allows us to look at figures and think, okay, that's what's wrong with my coaching business. That's what I need to optimize. Okay. So what we want to do is build out the data tracking system for a coaching business so it can track show rate, close rate, cash per call, average order value, everything. So if one is lower, we know, okay, this is what we need to do. Right? This diagnoses any issue in the business, allows you to really just save time and save your business. Okay? This is the infrastructure build. And after this, ongoing coaching and support. What we want to do is optimize. We want to make sure your coaching business is running like a oiled machine, right? Nothing crazy. If anything falls out of place, we'd really just optimize it. If closers need training, if setters need training, if we need new scripts, we go for it. And the end goal after that is found a replace with a closer, closing at least 30%, added at least 11K in new monthly cash, or got past that 50K a month mark. And that's what we offer with the service we provide with Systemized Scaling. Shameless plug right there. A full refund or one-to-one coaching until KPIs are achieved. But guys, that is it. That is pretty much how to go from 10K to 50K a month with your coaching business. If any of you want us to build this out for you, work with you and get your coaching business to 50K a month and implement this into your business, either book in a call below or drop me a message on Instagram with the word close. Drop me a DM with the word close and we'll see how we can help you. Alternatively, if you guys want to figure out how we actually offer our service and what Systemized Scaling is about even more, go into the bio and I've tagged a video on the best way to get to 50K a month in a bit more depth. Have a beautiful rest of the day.